manhunt continues for Charlie Kirk's killer. It seems like he's been let to go. Kash Patel isn't the man for the job. It seems like they may have fired all the competent people from the FBI. But let's get into the latest of what's happening. New images have been released. And then I want to talk about how the right really do have a monopoly in violence in America. Let's get into the report.
I want to put those two photographs of this person of interest back up because, John, I mean, looking at these two photos, I would think somebody must recognize this person.
If you didn't know him and you passed him in the street, maybe without the hat and glasses, you probably wouldn't. But if you did know him, there's a pretty good chance you would. And we've seen that in many cases where people familiar with the person just say, I know who that is.
I also want to show, I believe we have a photo from the roof which show a footprint. Is this the photo that you...
So that's a photo of that position, and right there you can see the law enforcement markers at each spot. But what you can see is where it appears somebody was laying down. There's, the impressions of where the foot would have been, where the palms would have been as they extended that rifle out.
It's actually an imprint in gravel, essentially, of the body position of a shooter.
Exactly. And this won't particularly aid in identifying the person. Now, there's always the possibility, that you could extract DNA if he had an ungloved hand off of there. But it does help establish the crime, the place where the crime took place. When they get a suspect, the measurements may help. But the big deal today is they have a gun. The gun is likely connected to the crime. The bullet that was fired from that gun came from a shell casing that remained in the chamber. He never, after seeing that shot, ejected the shell casing.
I got to just jump in.
Sure.
I understand.
Already misinformation has been spreading that somehow the bullets were marked with trans ideology and Antifa. This has been discredited, debunked by the New York Times, but already the right are trying to create conspiracy theories and kind of lies about who did this. We don't know what the motivations of the killer were yet.
We have some new pictures of the person of interest from the Utah Public Safety. These are other images. We'll try to blow those up a little bit more, but we are just getting these in now.
And what you glean from these photos is the rifle isn't in the picture, but now you get a clearer picture of the backpack. And we learned from the Thomas Crook's attempt to kill Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, you can disassemble the rifle. You can put the parts in a backpack and assemble it, when you're on site on that roof and take that shot.
So John Pistol joining us as well. The assumption is then that a rifle would have been disassembled in that backpack and brought up if that is in fact the killer.
Yeah, that's right, Anderson. And the whole idea is, what can the FBI do to establish that rifle that was found to the shooter in this case, based on whatever forensic evidence that they have gleaned from that, the palm print.
I don't think they need that. I think they need to do potentially, and they will, be doing somehow how they caught Luigi Mangione so quick. Obviously, they used illegal means. The apparent person who shared that he was in McDonald's didn't get the reward. There's a $100,000 reward for any information that leads to finding this guy. Why aren't they using that? Obviously, they will, and they'll be going through any means possible to find this guy. But I think it's a question of when, if not if. Like, they will be on it, and they will, again, use whatever means necessary.
Okay, but what do you compare a palm print to? It's not like fingerprints for driver's license or passports or things like that. They'll also be looking for things, any digital evidence. Was there anything clearly on the web or perhaps on the dark web where this individual, whoever he is, indicated plans or planning or ideas, aspirational even, about wanting to commit some type of act that would be noteworthy? And then the question is, after 24 hours, as was mentioned earlier, the odds of finding somebody, a suspect like this, go down after 24 hours somewhat dramatically. And so it becomes more and more of a challenge And to find the gun, that's great. To find any physical evidence, that's helpful. But what ties this individual into whoever he is? How is he identified? And then what can be done to locate him once he is identified? And so,
Obviously, that's all true. But what's interesting, and I think maybe it's a deflection or a misdirection, is the American flag with the eagle. Is that signaling MAGA support? Or is he trying to throw people off? Obviously, that's a very conscious choice. Obviously, that's a conscious choice. Um, we don't know what that means. It could be ironic. It could be like, again, misdirection. But I want to talk about next how the right have reacted to this. They have been insane. They have been calling for, like they have for the last 5, 10 years, civil war. And how can you escalate any further when you constantly call the left demons, communists, people who control everything that, are degenerate, and the constant invocation of invasions and civil war and violence. Most domestic terrorism in the US is from right wingers, 76%. But I wanted to just go over a little list of compiled by Mediasan. So he kind of people are saying, oh, even Asmongold said it. 90% of violence, domestic violence in the US is from the left wing. Simply not true. It's 76%. So it's actually the complete opposite. But I wanted to just go through a list. So here are the actual facts for those who with conveniently short memories. So the man who targeted and killed Democratic state lawmaker Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark in their home in Minnesota in June was Trump supporter. Again, very short memories. They don't talk about that. And when they are confronted about it, they're like, they have no answer because they know they're hypocrites. The man charged with attempted assassination of Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Josh Shapiro in April was a Trump supporter. Again, they have a monopoly of violence, but they like to play victim. The man convicted of orchestrating a series of shootings at the homes of 4 Democratic officials in New Mexico in 2022 was a Trump supporter. Again, they don't want to talk about this. They don't want to talk about the facts that they are the ones who call for civil war. They are the ones who want violence. The reaction to this is somehow the Democrats need to be ended. The man who tried to kidnap the Democratic House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and assaulted her husband, Paul, in 2022 was a Trump supporter. They were joking about that as well. Charlie Kirk even said that this guy should be bailed out. And when he was talking about it, he was smiling, he was giggling. What do you say to that? The men who wanted to hang Mike Pence in January 6, 2021 were Trump supporters. Again, pardoned. And it's really that point at January 2021, January 6, 2021, that's when a line should have been drawn in the sand from the Democrats and the Republicans. No, we do not accept violence. And it's really since the last 4 years that there's been an escalation and a rise in far-right violence, and it should have been nipped in the bud then. And now is the point where the DNC Democrats need to actually push back and go, okay, this is unacceptable. We need a de-escalation. We need to really hold Trump to account because he is causing this environment of just lawlessness, and they don't care about rule of law or, um, illegal deportations. The way they talk about illegal immigrants, this rhetoric, which is violent and very divisive, causes the kind of discontent that you're seeing in America. This alienation and division is caused by Trump and the right wing. So, the man who killed the son of Obama appointed District Judge Esther Salas in 2020. Again, a Trump supporter. We're seeing a trend here. Then men who convicted of trying to kidnap Michigan's Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer in 2020 were Trump supporters. Again, the man who sent pipe bombs to the homes of Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, and other top Democrats in 2018 was a Trump supporter. The man who killed left-wing activist Heather Heyer after driving his car into a crowd of counter-protesters in Charlottesville in 2017 was a Trump supporter. Remember when Trump said, there are fine people on both sides. We're talking about neo-Nazis. We're talking about far-right, violent extremists who want to kill their opponents. And obviously, we don't know the motivations, the political ideology of Charlie Kirk's killer, but statistically, there's a good chance he may be right-wing. If he is left-wing, that's a problem for the left and something we need to talk about and be honest with. It has no place in the movement. It undermines the fight against fascism because that's what they want. They want violence. It is their fantasy. They're fantasizing about a civil war now. That's what they want. They want a race war, a civil war, and we can't give it to them. We can't. It is detrimental to the cause that we kind of buy into their violence. We shouldn't. We need to go, no, no, we don't want your violence. We want democracy. We want rule of law. We want equal rights for everyone and free speech for everyone too. So it's a pretty depressing moment. Like, I feel really I know a lot of people saying that this is a inflection point. This is a big deal now. And we can't let them try and drive us apart and go, this is a civil war. No, this is the time to step back and go, actually, we need to call out fascists, the people who want violence, the people who are trying to agitate violence in the UK through saying, oh, no, these are the people causing the division. Figures like Charlie Kirk, who called for the stoning of homosexuals. What have homosexuals ever done to him? Treatment of trans people. People should be treated. Trans people should be treated like they were in the 1950s and 60s. What does that mean? Well, he's saying violence towards them. That means chemical castration. They should be put in lunatic asylums, insane asylums. Essentially, get rid of trans people, which is violence. Obviously, violence towards them is not acceptable, and political violence has no place in civilized society. That's what fascists want, and that's how they deal with problems. But in a democracy where equality, rule of law, it has no place. It really does have no place. We can't live like that. It's not sustainable. But that's what they want. They thrive in it, and we can't give them what they want. So comment below. Tell me, where is this going? I worry it's going to get worse again before it gets better. But we need to stand steady and go, evidence, rule of law, free speech, because they don't care about these values. I'll see you next time.